T-minus 10 minutes. T-minus 9 minutes. 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. T-minus for minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
I'll tell you what, I don't need a medium to tell me that we are going to have a great time today on the RP Show. Welcome, everybody, episode number 1773. At the moment, coming at you live on Game Plus streaming, the Rod Pedersen Show YouTube channel, WQVZ Radio, where they're rocking us 3 hours a day down there in the U.S. South. And Silver State Sports and Entertainment. We've got Murph coming up, 4-time Grey Cup champion in hour 2. As we do have Kevin the Medium. We need Kevin the Medium. I'm just saying I can see that today's show is going to be amazing. We welcome from the Hughes Sports Podcast, Kevin the Medium, the biggest BC Lions fan that I know. How you doing, Kev?
I am doing amazing. How about you?
Well, I'm doing well. Let's get down to business. As you know, this opening segment goes real fast. I'm a little surprised, and life would be boring if we got out of bed every single day and we knew what was coming at us. And what I mean by that is the World Cup quarterfinals begin today, and that is the big story around the world. And to be honest, I would say it largely isn't for me. I'm all geeked up. The comments coming in are all about the CFL games tonight, Week 6 kicking off, and trust me, that's where we're going to spend most of our time here in hour 1 with Kevin, and a lot of hour 2. But our poll question for Country Thunder is, are you still following the World Cup? What would you vote, Kev, on that?
I voted no.
Okay,
once
cool.
Canada dropped out, it was like, yeah, okay, it's over.
Yeah, I know. And for me, USA, when Canada was out, then USA's out. Okay, I'm done. Moving on. 100% of our viewers so far that have voted on the poll saying they are still following it. But Vancouver Eric in Vancouver makes a really good point. He goes, living beside the FIFA fan fest, I don't have a choice. And that's the same thing. It's still blowing up my phone, whether I like to know it or not. France plays Morocco today at 2 p.m. Mountain, 4 East. Kevin, we can't really escape it. So for that reason, I said yes. I'm not going to be watching it. But
yeah.
Are you aware of what's going on?
Oh, of course, you're aware of what's going on, but I'm not going to sit down and watch any of the games. That's for sure. It's like you say, once your team's out, it's like, and I'm the same way with hockey, though. If my team isn't in the playoffs, I don't watch as a rule because I'm fickle. I'm a fickle fan.
His team is the Vancouver Canucks, everybody. So Kevin doesn't watch the playoffs. I'm just putting that out there. We're dropping truth bombs. We're dropping truth bombs. Okay, so the very first comment out of the gate. So that point 1 is World Cup, but I feel like we've sufficiently handled it. That's largely all that I'm going to say today, other than we'll get to it in the sports updates. But Rob from Las Vegas writes in, he says, Drew Brown starting for the Blue Bombers Friday against the Argos. So we got a lot of delicious stuff about the Canadian Football League. That's why so many people have come here today. And I will say Darren from Melfort yesterday said, please don't talk World Cup. I'm like, your lips, my ears. We got it. So these games they're delicious. You've seen the breaking news today. Drew Brown starting for one bank. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm surprised. What did you think when you saw that?
A little bit surprised, but I mean, it's one of those, if you watched that game last week, who do you pick? It was nobody played well after the 2 starters went down. I mean, it was a hockey game score after that. It wasn't good football. It was bad football. Let's call it what it was. So Jake and I just talked about that this morning. We recorded our show this morning, and it's next man up. Who's going to take the ball? Who's going to shine? We've had a lot of superstar QBs turn up because the starter went down. So now's your time. Does a Trey Ford kick it in? Does Brown turn it on? Who knows?
Well, it's calamitous. The injuries that we've had to Bo Levi Mitchell and Zach Collaros, they were for their teams. It is for the league. But if you really, really love the league, and we do, like, for instance, we had Matt Dubuck on yesterday. You've heard me talk for ages about Matt Dubuck, a CFL alum, the most famous high school football coach in the state of Florida. He's like, this is Trey Ford's time for Hamilton.
Yeah.
This is his time. All of a sudden, we find out Jake Delagala is starting. So Dubuck played in the CFL, coaches at a very high level. He would have started Trey Ford and said, if you screw this up, you're done. And the Ticats aren't even doing that. They're giving the ball to Jake Delagala for whatever their own reasons are. So my point is, while we don't have the marquee quarterbacks, we still got some salacious stories going on in the Canadian Football League. And why the Drew Brown thing surprises me is this. Number one, I didn't think that Zach Collaros would be that hurt. I know it was a high hit, but it didn't look overly vicious. And I'm shocked that it wasn't penalized. And two, you got Taylor Elgersma, who did quarterback you to the victory. You know what I mean? Like, he just didn't put it in the ditch.
Yes.
Yet they're giving Drew Brown the ball. So what do you think? So you're just saying because Elgersma just didn't show enough last week. That's what you're saying.
I think it's one of those, okay, Ford, here's your opportunity. Brown, here's your opportunity. You've got a really, really short leash. If anything goes wrong, we're making the switch. And I really do. I think it's going to be, okay, let's go. You be ready. It's whoever's going to run with this ball. I was shocked too. I'm shocked on both sides. I thought for sure Trey Ford was going to get the start out in Hamilton. I mean, why wouldn't you? It doesn't make sense.
Well,
but that's why we sit here.
No, I know, but he was QB2, and he didn't get it done. He threw an interception at the worst time that didn't give them a chance. So
no.
I guess we shouldn't be that surprised. But by the way, so we can all see, I do love talking about the CFL, but I will only talk about it in the summer and in hour one in the Canadian Hour. I'm not going to sit around in January. For instance, with the NFL, I just went over to ESPN.com this morning just to see what's popping in the NFL. And it's like, so-and-so, some jabroni I've never heard of, rates the top defensive tackles in the NFL. That's your top story? I don't care. But I know there's fans that want to read that, and that's fine. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes that, and he says, starting quarterbacks in the CFL is all top-notch right now, but I don't think the depth is there. That's every league, bro. Yeah. That's every league. If your starter goes down in the NFL, you're toast too. Tom Brady, Andrew Castles, Matt Castles, not the former Calgary Flame Andrew Castles, Matt Castles, as I show my age. So anyways, they're having a fun debate in the chat on that. So a lot of CFL talk here today. There's some NHL stuff I want to get to as well. Mike Commodore says, he tweeted that he received a threatening letter from the Edmonton Oilers. Well, I would suggest you earned it, Commie. I want to talk about that when we come back. Connor Bedard's out for 4 months after getting hurt in a scrimmage. Chris Strevler is at Calgary Stampede. Did you see this?
I did not.
Okay, and he's representing the NFL's Arizona Cardinals. They're mowing your lawn, Stampeders. What are you going to do about it? How do we feel about the NFL coming in and marketing their league in Canadian markets? Because it's happening. Is Strevler a traitor? What are you going to do about that, everybody, you CFL lovers? We'll be right back here on the RP Show.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lady Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection, booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Welcome back to the RP Show. It's a perilous time in this media trade, so please support our sponsors that support us, like the Mad Greek Eatery in Moose Jaw. Late night cravings solved. The Mad Greek Eatery is open until 11 p.m. Order online, pick up, or dine in at themadgreekeatery.com. Kevin stops there every time he's here. And also, the text line is open, 902-518-3033. It is for Western Dodge. Drive with confidence. Shop Western Dodge. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. So let's just slow it down a little bit. That opening segment's real fast. And I just dropped some of the bombs of things that I want to talk about. But tonight, Edmonton Elkemos, home to the Ottawa Redblacks. Kev, it shouldn't be close. I'm assuming you did your picks on the Hughes Sports podcast last night. Who you got in this one tonight?
I've got the Elkemos. I think this is, what do you say? It's going to be my motorboating. I don't think it's going to be close.
You old sailor, you. Yes. Well, Scruffy and I both have Edmonton. The picks, by the way, are up at rodpedersen.com right now. They're running as the number one item at rodpedersen.com. That's brought to you by Pump Jack Steakhouse and Saloon, by the way, where they're running game day specials, $6 pints at Pump Jack's Cathedral for Sunday's game, Riders and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I'll take your word for it because I'm going to be at the Craven Country Thunder, the proud sponsors of our daily poll. I guess we got a lot of sponsors now that I think about it. But I was reading and please support them all, reading the game notes. Cody Fajardo is 10-1 all time against the Ottawa Red. What do I say? Death, taxes, and Fajardo winning. And Brett Lather, 13 of 13 on field goals this year. So they are both in that ex-Saskatchewan camp of which we all reside. It's a fun camp. We pitch tents there. We roast hot dogs and marshmallows. Yeah, we all get along great. The former Rough Riders that have gone on to have success in other places. Will you be tuning in? Like, this got almost 0% of the vote for Canada's game of the week. Are you going to even be watching?
Oh yeah, I'll watch it just because it's a CFL, and you know me. I very rare do I miss a game unless someone's pulling me away to a 60th wedding anniversary or something like that. But most of the time, I'm watching all 4 games. So yeah, I'll be watching.
Vancouver Eric says, poor Edmonton football fans, a Thursday night game and Ottawa. Ugh. Well, let's turn our frowns upside down. They're going to kick the dog snot out of Ottawa, and it wasn't that long ago that Edmonton couldn't beat themselves. They couldn't tie their own shoelaces. So be happy about that. And it looks like a beautiful night for football, so get out to Commonwealth Stadium. My God. Oh, the opponent sucks. We're not going to go. I don't feel like Edmonton football fans would be like that. But having said that, it's the first time I've had you on all week. Edmonton and BC played in touchdown Kelowna 2. You must have come out of that smiling pretty happy with the BC getting their first win.
I did, and it was really good to see the way they did it with Butler just running up the score. And I love the way the BC Lions went after who was it? They roasted on social media because they were saying Butler sucks.
Eddie Steele.
Eddie Steele, thank you. And that clip, I think, should just stay and be in there for the history of the BC Lions, because it rated up there in my books. I laughed so hard.
He was saying Nathan Rourke was overrated. Was that not what he said? Wasn't that what he was saying?
Yeah, he was saying Nathan Rourke's a one-horse pony, and Butler has only had 120 yards all season, and this is not even going to be close. And Butler, I think, had 135 yards rushing that game. And yeah, come on.
I'll tell you what, if you can be a big enough person and when I believe Eddie Steele is, I know Eddie really well, I think he would take that in stride. So this is the former D tackle with the Eskimos and the Rough Riders and the Ticats. Good friend of mine. He's in the Edmonton media now. So he was roasting Nathan Rourke. And when they motorboated the Eskimos, the Lions turned that clip into a really funny social media content. It's similar to Winnipeg Blue Bombers roasting me for when they acquired Zach Collaros. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip. They've made a lot of it in Winnipeg where I said this is a nothing trade, and then he went on to lead them to 5 straight Grey Cups. And to be honest, I'm like, thank you for the content, because the day you stop talking about me, we got bigger problems. But the one thing I said about that is, okay, you can say whatever you want, but when we needed Zach Collaros in the Eastern semifinal, he was nowhere to be found. So I'm just speaking from our experience here, and that pretty much shut it down like immediately. That was our experience. Now I'm still a Zach fan, but go ahead.
It's not like what Steele had said was incorrect. It was correct. It was 100% correct. Butler hadn't done a whole lot. And I had said it numerous times, is our whole entire team, led by Rourke, haven't been performing to where they needed to perform. So he was right. It just bad timing.
It doesn't matter whether you're right anymore. So I'll say it again. It's fun content. And it's good for the league. So I hope we can all, and it's, how well I know Eddie, I'll tell you this. By the end of my time with the Rough Riders, I don't think it matters anymore. And I'm sure I told you this story, but I was not allowed to talk to the players, period. They're like, unless you're interviewing them, you're not allowed to talk to them. And I'm like, why? Because they were afraid of inside information being leaked out to the media, or me reporting it. So I'm like, whatever. I mean, it's your team. So, and at that time, I owned a restaurant. So I was regular, and also voice of the Riders, but also owning a restaurant, which I never took. Kevin, you and I didn't know each other then. But I was like, as the players said, I was like Sam Malone standing behind the bar. I didn't do any work. I just stood there with a towel over my arm. And one night, Eddie Steele came in there to complain about Chris Jones. And I'm not going to say what his complaint was, but he came in, he sat right up at the bar. Just imagine a scene from Cheers, and I'm standing there like Sam Malone, and Eddie Steele started complaining to me about Chris Jones. And the first thing I said was, you're not supposed to be in here, right? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, we're not allowed to be talking. He goes, I don't care about that. I need to know your take on this. I need to tell you what's going on. Okay, I guess I can't stop you. And then it just started a flood of players in there. It was literally scene out of Cheers. By the way, while we have Kevin here, because he's going on this, score a touchdown in the Caribbean. Join CFL legend Adam Bighill, Rough Riders linebacker Jameer Thurman, now Blue Bombers D lineman Willie Jefferson and Jake Serezna on a 7-day cruise departing from Fort Lauderdale, February 20th. A once-in-a-lifetime experience for CFL fans. Prices from $18.99, cruise only. Let's book these cabins up, folks. Contact Neil Chark at Uniglobe Travel, neil@uniglobecarefree.ca. As a matter of fact, if you go to rodpedersen.com right now and click on our picks, our weekly picks, there's an ad right there with a link where you can go get your information and sign up right now. You're a CFL fan. That's why you're watching. You want to get out of the winter, the Canadian winter. It all works perfectly on the cruise with Uniglobe Carefree. So I guess I do want to talk about the Strevler thing and a few other things. Not that it's a big deal, but I'm going to write your picks down here. I already did mine on Tuesday with Scruffy, but you've got Edmonton to win tonight, Toronto, Winnipeg tomorrow. Who do you got in that one?
Toronto.
Okay, as did we both. Saturday, Calgary at Montreal, and what the viewers voted, the game of the week.
You know what?
I mean, I'm sure it'll be a great game. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said the same thing. I think this one's going to be the game of the week because I don't think the other ones are going to be that competitive. I think this one is going to be the most competitive game out there. You got VA against Alexander. I mean, it's going to be an amazing game. I am going to take the Stampeders. I think the Stamps are going to go into Montreal, and VA coming off that performance last week of a lifetime. It was insanity. The man was on a different level. So hopefully he can keep that up and take on the Alouettes.
And Hamilton and Sask Sunday, we all got the Riders. How about you?
Yeah, same Riders. Gosh, I hate picking them, but I've picked them every week so far.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, says that is a Grey Cup preview. Calgary, Montreal on Saturday. I'm not saying you're wrong. It would be a rematch of the 2008 Grey Cup. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say he's wrong?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, the BC Lions are off this week. So there we go. Wayne in BC writes in, he says, let's face it, the Lions defense is the major reason for the Lions being 1-3 this season, not Nathan Rourke. It's really interesting that he says that, and you are a Lions fan, so you got your take, and you played the game, so I would say it's more than it's an educated take. But it's funny when we're sitting here making picks because it's 44-man rosters, the ultimate team game. But at the end of the day, when you talk to the footballers, and even Murph explained why this is, it kind of comes down to the quarterback play in almost every game. You know what I mean? It could be right. Could be a missed kick. Could be a missed tackle. Could be a turnover. But it still comes down to who's playing best at quarterback. And it's not always that easy to say who's going to play better at quarterback. But that's what it comes down to by the end of the game.
It does. And when you have a quarterback at 70% and the other quarterback's at 85, guess who's winning the game? It's not usually the one at 70. It's usually the one at 85. So does our defense suck? Yeah, we haven't had a great defensive season. But Rourke has not played up to his potential either. And he'll be the first one to say it. If you brought him on the show today, he would tell you, I haven't been what I need to be yet. And he hasn't, and which is kind of cool with the numbers that he's put up. And he's still not at what he should be. Can you imagine when he is? Whew,
I'd hate to think that you're peaking in week 2 or 3. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, that's why it's a long journey.
Yeah.
By the way, I like this guy, David number 2 from Winnipeg. He writes in on the Western Dodge text line. He says, good morning, Rod. Drew Brown gives the Bombers a better shot to win. Taylor Elgersma needs more time to sharpen his skills. The real key to the game will be the Bombers' defense. They need to get pressure on Chad Kelly and win the turnover battle. Go Blue! And then he goes on to say, with my little story about what went on there with Eddie Steele and me, he says, Rod, with you and the Riders, I feel it's like when you have an ex. You are usually in one of 2 camps. When you look at them, they either still look really good or you can't understand what you ever saw in them. No, I appreciate you saying that, David. But you've said that you've been with the same woman for 32 years, and I admire you for that. I wish that was the case with me, but it's not. No, with the Rough Riders, it was a really solid, strong marriage. But near the end, personalities changed, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, the people that hired me, and Kev knows this story intimately, were long gone. They're long gone. And the new people that came in, we didn't see eye to eye, and I wasn't going to win that battle. So it was time to go. Trust me, Kev knows I have zero hard feelings. I don't think it's the same the other way. But what I do know is it doesn't bother me. It may or may not bother them. I don't know. But people can't understand why I don't go to the games. And that's the one thing where I say that's what you don't understand. That's like going to an old high school house party after you graduated, or a high school dance, like it's over, or me walking in there. I said to Lisa, my advisor in Florida, I said, it's like walking into a place with 33,000 of my exes in there. And she's like, the way you're going, you're going to have 33,000 exes. I'm like, whoa!
Ouch.
902-518-3033. Are you watching the Blue Jays still, Kev?
Of course, yes. I almost got a no-hitter yesterday. It came close. It's about time.
The reason I ask is Kirk in Toronto writes in, and he says, hey, Rod, giant killer Dylan Cease pitched a gem with a no-hitter heading into the ninth, but ended up with a one-hit shutout. Oh, and Vladdy homered. How about that? I do have that in my notes here today, so are you reading my diary, Kirk in Toronto? So hang on. We will be right back with more with Kevin the Medium. Is there anything you'd like to talk about today that I have not got to yet?
Well, we could probably talk about the Fan 960.
Okay, thank you. I'll write it down. Mike Commodore says the Oilers have threatened him. Chris Strevler's representing the NFL at Calgary Stampede. How dare he? I said we were going to talk about that, and we haven't yet. And then the literal death of Fan 960, one of this country's finest all-sports radio stations, locking its doors. We'll be right back. It is the RP Show, Silver State Sports Game Plus streaming podcast on WQVZ.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Dean, Brody, and the Wreck Loss teaming up for the Hometown Heroes Tour.
If there's work, you know I'm gonna work.
Live at Temple Garden Center, November 9th.
Can't blame nobody else. I can't help myself.
Two of Canada's biggest country acts. One stage, one unforgettable night on the Hometown Heroes Tour. Tickets on sale now at the Temple Garden Center box office or online at saskpix.ca.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Wow, it's going to get even more fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to get even more fun. Final segment here with Kevin the Medium. 902-518-3033 is the text line. Breaking news from the National Hockey League. I kind of mentioned Connor Bedard's out 4 months with a shoulder injury sustained in a summer practice. We all have seen the video of it. You can't get away with anything anymore. 2, the Utah Mammoth have matched the offer sheet of forward Barrett Hayton that was extended to him by the New Jersey Devils. And what I just saw on Twitter in the break, the Anaheim Ducks, by virtue of their owners, this came from the owners, the Anaheim Ducks sent out a statement today from the team owners saying they are matching the offer sheet to Leo Carlsson, so he'll be making $18 million a year for the next 5 years. The Ducks are matching. And to the radio, by the way, Sea Lightning, thank you. He says, help Rod promote this show on YouTube algorithms. The more likes, the more YouTube promotes Rod's channel. Hit the like. So if you're watching on the streaming, please hit the like. We don't ask for much. We don't charge you. There's no paywall like all the big leagues are doing. Can you like it and share the show? It would help us out a great deal. So on the NHL thing, even producer Corey piqued his interest. Kev, I mean, are you following the Mike Babcock, Edmonton Oilers situation, or to what degree are you?
I hadn't heard anything about it till you mentioned it. And of course, during the break there, I had to go into my Gemini and Google it. And yeah, sounds interesting to say the least. I remember a young fella that I know quite well that wrote an article and got a cease and desist order similar to what the Oilers have done to this guy. So it's not uncommon.
Well, I know the story of which that you're referring to. And in this is my take on the situation. Like Mike Commodore played for Mike Babcock. He loathes him, and it's kind of a funny thing in NHL circles how much Mike Commodore hates Mike Babcock. But it's like, bro, I've now got NHL people sending me Commodore's clips because I don't really follow him. I've never met him. And they're like, this guy, like, drop it. And how do we take this guy seriously? He's got the long red hair. He looks like Bozo the Clown without the makeup. I'm just saying, you're not coming across professionally. And now it's just hate. So I followed a little bit of what Commodore has said. And then last night, Mike Commodore tweeted, "Good evening, folks. Thanks for the threatening email at Edmonton Oilers." So my guess is he probably got a cease and desist or something saying, knock it off, or we're pursuing you legally. On the flip side, and certainly not in Mike Commodore's defense, I got a lot of those letters. I got a lot of those emails, and I have been warned. It's just the way that it is now, and people don't understand that. But the thing with Commodore is he's not asking for a press pass. He's not asking for interviews. He's just doing his thing. And what I also know, that if he's not saying anything that isn't true, he's fine.
Well,
so he's given his right.
I read his quote. Don't leave your kid alone with them. Keep your eyes on your kids if he's hired by the. That's probably crossing a line. There's no proof that he did anything, but he didn't really do anything. He didn't. There's no proof that in that case. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think this crosses the line. This is one of those where
with what he said or what the Oilers have done.
No, what he said. It's like, I'm sorry if you said that about me. I'm telling you to stop as well. And if I have to get a lawyer to do it, That's kind of crossing the line. I mean, that's making him sound like he's, let's face it.
We all know.
Yeah.
We know what it's, and we know the
Right?
inference for sure. So it's, I guess that's between them, and we'll see if Commodore backs off. Like, I'm starting to wonder where he is mentally. I'm not going to go any further down that line, but it's like, bro, we all have people that we don't like.
Yes.
We've all got people that have done nasty things to us. Let it go.
Let it go.
Get help, bro. So we'll see where that goes. But it's just, it's a different time. I have not received threatening emails from anybody lately. I've received warnings, however, and it's like, oh, I didn't know. Because I will also say this. I've been doing this a real long time, since 1988. And a lot of policies have changed. And that's not what people came here today for. I'm just saying there's a whole side of this that people don't know. And I wonder how much they care. The other thing, just so Chris Strebler was on the show last week. Everybody loved that interview, the infectious personality. And he put on Twitter that he's going up to Calgary to the Stampede this week to market the NFL on behalf of the Cardinals International Initiative. And I just wondered how people feel about that. I got a kick out of that. You and I were at Grey Cup in Vancouver when John Ryan, remember, John jumped out of that Seahawks booth to come over to see us, and he was there being paid by the Seahawks to promote the NFL and the Seahawks at the Grey Cup. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I have zero issue with this at all. This is where I think the CFL has dropped the ball, and some other leagues, with that kind of stuff. You can't just rely on your product for how great it is. And I often say, with the way the NFL does things, with community relations, media relations, this, marketing out of country, if the NFL's doing it, why can't you do it? Doesn't cost that much money to get a hotel room and send Chris Strebler to Calgary for a couple days.
You know
what I'm saying? So that's my take on that. But
how about the CFL just market their damn product in their own country? Do you see CFL having a booth at the Stampede? I've been to the Stampede numerous times. I've never seen the CFL have a booth. How cool would it be if they had a booth and had some alumni there? They wouldn't even have to freaking get a hotel room. There's a lot of alumni in Calgary. Hello,
I
folks.
know. I'll say it for John Ohm, who doesn't seem to be with us today, because I think he golfs on Thursdays. But he always says, marketing costs money. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can roll up your sleeves and do that doesn't cost hardly anything. And they don't do that either. So there's that. And then Fan 960 going off the air. You've lived in Calgary for what, 20 years more?
20 plus years. Jake and I, as I said, we just recorded our podcast this morning before I came on with you. And it's really bothering him that the Fan 960 and more so 650 in Vancouver is off the air. I have mixed feelings. It sucks. 230 people lost their jobs. You and I have both been fired from jobs. Sometimes it wasn't great. It sucked. Other times it was like, oh, wow, you know what? This feels good. I'm going to go on to bigger and better things. So it's one of those, is sports talk radio a thing of the past? I think so. More people are consuming sports products like we are, doing what they're doing right now. We're not on the radio. They're watching it on YouTube. They're listening on Spotify. That's the new way. Rogers looked and said that these stations are costing us money. Simple. It was a business decision and nothing more. It wasn't, oh, we hate the West. If that was the case, what about Halifax and Kitchener? Was that just thrown in because? No, it was a business decision. Those entities weren't making money, so they parted company with them. It sucks. Well, it sucks. I know a lot of the guys at 650, we've had them on our show, Jake and I, and it sucks that they're not going to have a job to go to. But I honestly believe 99% of them are going to land on their feet and they're going to end up doing what we do. They're going to have their podcast and it's going to be bigger. Look at Sekeres and Price. They did it. They were on the radio. They switched over to this. So sucks. Yes. But what was that song? Video killed the radio star? Internet killed the radio and we're living it.
Wow, you were ready for that one. By the way, I'll say it so that Ryan O Radio doesn't have to. We are on the radio on WQVZ 3 hours in the afternoon. Yeah. I don't know where he's manufacturing that third hour, but he's doing it. Ryan, he just goes and does it. again, I love working with Ryan O'Reilly, and we've had an association for a long time. He started at can't remember the call letters now, from Atlanta when he had us on there. He just goes and does things. I mean, they always end up being the right thing. WQEE. Right. That's what, 99.1 WQEE in Atlanta. Now it's WQVZ. So, yeah, it's just amazing because from time to time I will get mail from listeners down there like Marietta, Georgia. I'm like, what? Oh, I listened to you. Yeah, just you don't think about it. So there were things that I didn't get to with Kev, but some of the NHL we did, and you handled it very well. I'll recap it all coming back after the break. The Blue Jays, they're off today, Kev, so I guess you'll have to watch soccer. NBA, Mark Cuban's crying. I will talk about this next hour. Some of these billionaires do annoy me. I don't know if you saw this. It's not fair. I'm being frozen out by the Mavericks owners because of unfair business practices. We don't care. Grow up. Okay, Kev. You have a great Maple Creek day.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yeah, well, I would hope we'll be talking before then. Kevin the Medium, check him out on Instagram at Kevin the Medium channeling. He talks to dead people. That's why we get along so well. And we'll be right back here on the RP Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've had a fantastic discussion today. It continues, and I haven't got through all of the quick six show topics. Point one was World Cup. The quarterfinals begin today. France versus Morocco, 2 p.m. Mountain. Are you still following? 100% saying yes, they are on our Instagram poll. I don't know what they're saying on YouTube. That's the point one. Point two was a lot of CFL talking. We got through it all. That was great. Point three, I'll just stop here for a second and read my script, which I actually wrote down. And I should mention, thank you to those that are watching on Game Plus streaming. I just checked over there. Appreciate you for that. We're streaming from our own Rod Pedersen Show channel. Point three, NHL, Chicago Blackhawks center Connor Bedard will miss the start of the season after he had surgery on his left shoulder Wednesday. Team Dr. Michael Terry said Bedard is expected to make a full recovery in an approximate timeline of 4 months. The NHL hasn't announced its regular season schedule yet, but the Blackhawks played their first game last season on October 7th. I was there. They got shut out in Sunrise. Bedard, who turns 21 on July 17th, got hurt while skating with a group of NHL players last week in Western Canada. It's a major blow for a Blackhawks team trying to emerge from a painful rebuilding process. So on that, Sea Lightning writes in with a good comment. Where are you, Sea Lightning? He says, I heard Gretzky in later years had such a bad shoulder he couldn't shoot. He became one-dimensional by just passing. Bedard's shooting ability could be impacted. Well, a couple things on that. Number one, Wayne was in his mid to late 30s at that time. Number two, I just said Connor just turned 21. And number three, the medical therapy, I'm rubbing my shoulder because I got a rotator cuff injury, if you can believe, is night and day from the 1990s when Wayne Gretzky suffered from that. It ain't even close. Connor's young, medical advancements, he'll make a complete recovery. When they say that, they're not blowing smoke somewhere they shouldn't. Back to the NHL. The Utah Mammoth matched New Jersey's offer sheet to Barrett Hayton Wednesday, signing the 26-year-old center to a $4.775 million contract for next season. Utah would have received the Devils' 2027 second-round pick as compensation if it did not match. And then news this morning out of Anaheim. This came right down from the owners. The Ducks have elected to match the offer sheet tendered to their young star Leo Carlsson that came from Philadelphia. He is re-signed now to a 5-year, $90 million deal. So that's the news out of the National Hockey League. I'm just going to roll, and then you folks just jump onto whatever you want to jump onto. Point four, Toronto's Dylan Cease worked 8 no-hit innings against the San Francisco Giants on Wednesday before allowing a single to Helio Ramos, leading off the ninth as the Blue Jays rolled to a 10-0 victory. Cease was pulled after Ramos's clean line drive single to center and got a standing ovation from the San Francisco crowd. The All-Star righty threw a career-high 118 pitches, 81 for strikes. Former Giants reliever Tyler Rogers got the final 3 outs on 4 pitches. Cease struck out 11 to increase his American League leading total to 148. And what a signing he's been, Dylan Cease. And I'll say this, I mean, you know, I got all this other stuff going on, plus broadcasting baseball myself. So I just dipped into the AL East standings today, and so the Jays continue to be 11.5 off the division lead. I think it's 2.5 out of a wild card spot. So you are all smart people. We're all sitting here going, could be better, could be worse. Let's see how this all unfolds. And as Kirk in Toronto said, Vladdy homered last night too. So it's a good day. It's a good day because largely I only get to watch about one Blue Jays game a week. The rest I see on social media, and everybody's like, oh, the Blue Jays suck, the Jays suck, this is unwatchable. Blah, blah, blah. It's just the way people are, right? Doesn't make you want to watch it. Oh, by the way, we are brought to you in part by Suds. A clean car runs better. That's what my dad always said. Are you stuck for gift ideas? Suds gift cards, available online at our location or at Costco, are the ultimate for anyone who loves a clean ride. Visit sudsregina.com. By the way, I would be interested to get more people's take before, and we'll carry this over into hour 2 because it's NHL talk and it pertains to our U.S. audience. But on the thing with Mike Commodore tweeting that he received a threatening letter from the Edmonton Oilers. For those of us that have received threatening letters, It's not a surprise. None of us really went public with them, however. I guess it was a threatening email, Commodore said, but I guess for those that are following the story, because Kevin the Medium wasn't. Kevin's not the biggest NHL guy. We all know how Mike Commodore feels to Mike Babcock. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think it's incredibly distasteful. When I said that the NHL people, they're starting to take Babcock's side on that whole thing. One guy said to me, I'm not going to tell you who he is, but he's a close friend. He sent me a screenshot of a Commodore post. His hair was all over the place. It looked like he just come off a bender, which he might have. I don't know. And the NHL guy said to me, this guy looks like he didn't see anything past the second period last night. Why would I take anything serious or doesn't remember anything after the second period last night? Why would I take anything seriously that he says? I will, we are in a zany time in the world, but what hasn't changed is human nature, and that is you are taken far more seriously if you put a little attempt into your own personal appearance. I'm not just saying that about Mike Commodore. That's just life. And by the way, with Kevin's eulogy of Fan 960, I was thinking about this a little more, and here's why. I mean, you guys watch this show every day. You know I've been through a lot of crap. I was sitting with a guy last night is going through, frankly, far worse stuff than I really ever have. I can confidently say that. So all I'm saying is I sit here and count my blessings and say I'm through the worst of it. I fully believe that, and I'm grateful to be where I am. That doesn't mean I don't have empathy and a little sympathy for the people that lost their jobs, but I have been there, and I can confidently say that you will survive. But I was on Fan 960 for hours and hours and hours calling World Junior games back in the day, and then as a guest for hours and hours and hours. That station was really, really good to me and almost hired me like 3 times. But as I'm telling folks that are under the age of 40, and Kevin is over that, his son Jake is under that, when he said Jake's having a real tough time with this. What did I say the other day? I like my age at 53 because I've got a historical perspective. Anybody under the age of 40 doesn't remember life before there was sports talk radio. So Jeff the Stamps fan writes in here and says, bring back the good old days. Where the hell is it? Where did it go? Bring back the oldies on 66 CFR. Well, can I say it? Because I lived there at the time when the Flames were on 66 CFR. There was a rumor. That's the Peter Maher impression, the Hall of Fame voice of the Flames. But we used to sit around and go, oh, there's a rumor that CFR stands for Calgary Flames Radio before they even had the rights because they were on CHQR at the time. And then they ended up getting their rights, so the rumor ended up being true. 66 CFR. They played oldies music all day and then flipped the switch to put the Flames games on. That's what's going to happen again. So, and maybe they'll run from an app or whatever. But the thing is, there was life before sports talk radio. There was life before it. There's going to be life after it. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. I would tell Moose, put that on the 176th story of my tombstone. BW in Edmonton writes in, he says, Edmonton lost TSN radio. Weeks later, half the staff started an online sports radio station. The other half started 1440 Sports. There is a path forward for Calgary listeners, for sure. And I don't know where Jason from Red Deer is today, but he said that Boomer and them should go buy the 960 and throw up. It ain't that easy. And I'll tell you another story. When I was voice of the Riders, listen, things near the end weren't that good, and that's fine. I was ready to go, as I said in the interview about going into the Hall of Fame here in a couple weeks' time. But we were going to throw up a transmitter. I had the cost breakdown. We were ready to do it. And I needed investors. And listen, around here, I pulled the money together within 5 minutes. But the one main money guy goes, I need you to run it. I'll fund it, but you got to run it. And I said, I can't run it. I'm the voice of the Riders. I still have a job over here. I'm not giving that up to go do that. And he goes, then I'm out. If you're not running it, I'm not doing it. And that was the end of that. But I knew, and still do, that we could do it and it would be successful. But that's not the path of my life now. AJ in North Battleford writes in, says, marketing costs money? Maybe, but it's the cost of doing business. No? Well, that's the thing. Vancouver Eric writes in, he says, streaming podcast is the new AM radio. I'm Gen X and have adjusted. Well, you have to. I was listening to a podcast the other day. driving into the Queen City. I'm like, hey, this works pretty good. Streaming through. I haven't been able to figure out how to turn the radio on in the car that I have from Western Dodge. I'm old. I don't know how to turn the radio on, but it immediately syncs to my phone. So I'm like, oh, I'll put on Spotify. I listened to the RP show on Spotify. Dang, we sounded good. 902-518-3033. But again, radio's not dead. Sports talk radio might be, because we're still rocking it on WQVZ 1700 AM. Kirk in Toronto writes that he says, Drew Brown is starting for the Bombers because he torched the Argo defense a number of times when he was in Ottawa. Cool. We did talk about that off the top. I'm sure you were here for it, Kirk. Graham in Calgary writes in, he says, for CFL marketing, activate the fan base. You can get a ton of volunteers for Grey Cup. Activate that fan base or that base for grassroots campaign. Tell them, not me. Okay? David in Winnipeg writes in, marketing costs you money, but if done right, it makes you money. At some point, I'm not sure if people are going to understand that I don't want to and will not answer questions for how the CFL does business. Never have, don't, and never will. Wayne in BC says, question, are these radio channels off the air or have they gone to a different format? They handed the keys back to the CRTC. They said, we're done. Beep. That's what it is. Hour 2 coming up, and Murph will be with us here on the RP Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
It's the RP Show on a very special Thursday. It's very special because it's the next one. It's episode number 1773 of the RP Show. Yeah, we're in Season 8. Season 1 on Silver State Sports. Season 7 on Game Plus. And I think about year 7 on WQVZ Radio, so shout out to them. Hi, we got breaking news. We've had a lot of fun things we've been discussing today. It's hour 2 on the show. First hour in Nevada as we get rolling here. The guest today is 4-time Grey Cup champion John Murphy. He will be joining us from Houston, Texas to talk some NFL, some college football, and the big one, the Canadian Football League, as they get rolling into Week 8. I'll just get this out of the way now, the business stuff. His appearance is brought to you by Prairie Panels. The text line is open, 902-518-3030. It's brought to you by Western Dodge. Drive with confidence. Shop Western Dodge. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. And, yeah, we got breaking news. But here's the thing. We've been you see my mind's thinking. We've been talking a lot all week about the 6 radio stations across Canada that went off the air, including 2 all-sports radio stations. It's just a different time in the world, but for live sports, it's still a thing. By the time this airs in Nevada, the quarterfinal game will be over at the World Cup, and that is point 1. So can I just read this for the benefit of the live audience? After a solitary rest day that felt eternal, the quarterfinal stage of the World Cup has finally arrived. France versus Morocco today. 2 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Eastern. The tournament's clear favorite faces its toughest test to date in 6th-ranked Morocco. France's star-studded attack will need to shake off the cobwebs from Paraguay's highly defensive approach in the prior round, further raising the stakes in a game where the stakes need no raising. There are 6 French-born players in Morocco's squad. So I'm just giving them the respect that it's the biggest thing going on in the world right now, the quarterfinals of the World Cup. And I was a little surprised, as I said to our Hour 1 co-host, Kevin the Medium. He's a medium. You know, like Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, he does that. He just doesn't look as good. Anyways, I was surprised. I said to Kevin, it would be a real boring world if we knew every day when we got out of bed what was coming or what to expect. That would be boring. Some of us would like a little less, surprises. But the poll question today for our friends at Country Thunder, which the biggest party of the summer starts tonight in Craven, Saskatchewan. Big outdoor country and western show. 40,000 people will be there, including yours truly. You can still get your tickets at countrythunder.com/SK. But the poll question is, are you still following World Cup? And I've got it up on our Instagram page. Please give us a follow there at The Rod Pedersen Show. I was stunned. 1 out of 10 polls reporting 100% saying, yeah, they're still following it. And there is a difference between watching it and following it. As Vancouver Eric, one of our P1 viewers, said, you can't get away from it. He lives right beside the FIFA Fan Fest in Vancouver, and it's in our phones every time you open your phone. You go to McDonald's, for God's sakes. You're inundated with World Cup stuff, so you don't have a choice. But they're down to the quarterfinals. That's about all I need to say about it, because I've got viewers writing in here going, please don't talk about it. I know nothing about it. Lots of people are pretending that they do. Let's let them continue to do that. The warm-up and the Quick Six show topics are brought to you by our dear friends at Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the preferred travel partner of the RP Show, and the CFL's BC Lions. When it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway, trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel, so by the way, the voice of the BC Lions, Bob Marjanovic, the Moj, who was on this show a couple of weeks ago, go look him up on Twitter. His Twitter account is @TheRealMoj. He actually did a really good 45-second video on why the sports media business is in the peril that it's in. And because I know the consumers and the fans are all going, why are all these stations going off the air? Moj put it in his thing as to why, and this isn't a Media 101 college. We're a sports talk show. We're going to keep rolling with it. I'm just saying, Moj explained it all, and he's the voice of the BC Lions. And the point is, he just said there's a lot more. We used to have just a couple radio stations, and we had a couple of newspapers. They're largely gone. Now radio's dying. There's just more mediums to consume your content. So the point of it all is please support our sponsors because they keep us on the air, and that includes Uniglobe Carefree Travel that's running that CFL Players Association fan cruise departing out of the port of Fort Lauderdale February 20th, 7-day cruise featuring CFL stars Adam Bighill, Jameer Thurman, Willie Jefferson, my guy out of Beaumont, Texas, and Jake Seresna. Prices starting at $18.99. Cruise only. Contact Neil at uniglobecarefree.ca. So, point 2 is football, and we're going to be getting into a lot of it with Murph when he joins us next from Houston, Texas, 4-time Grey Cup champion. But I will say this, Week 6 in the Canadian Football League kicks off tonight. You really should be following it. It's another topic for another day, but the profile of the CFL in America went when they left the ESPN channels and went to CBS Sports Network. It just did, because all of my friends in the States are like, I used to watch the CFL. Is it still around? Yes, it's still around. But when you're not on one of the 8 ESPN channels, which everybody gets, people in the States haven't really been seeking it out. But in Canada, it's on national television every single game, including this one tonight. The Ottawa Red Blacks at the Edmonton Elks. They changed their name from Edmonton Eskimos because sponsors were offended. Also a topic for another day. But the reason you should be watching, all of our Canadian viewers will be, but the Nevada ones, Wolfpack great, Cody Fajardo leads his Edmonton Elks into kickoff at Commonwealth Stadium at Edmonton against the Ottawa Red Blacks tonight. Cody is 10-1 all-time against Ottawa as a Canadian Football League starter. I love my guy Cody. I, of course, will be watching tonight because I watch all the games, but everybody is picking Edmonton to win, so there you go. The picks, by the way, plus the always salacious game notes that have come out from the Canadian Football League. If you go to rodpedersen.com right now, it's the top item running. Our picks plus game notes, because I'm too lazy to write them myself, from the CFL, plus our picks are all there for the whole week's games. And they're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I love the way they stretch out the weeks in the summertime. A game a night. It's perfect. Our picks are brought to you by Pump Jack Steakhouse and Saloon. They are running a game day special this Sunday, 5 p.m. Mountain. The Saskatchewan Roughriders hosting the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 5 p.m. $6 pints at that one. I'll take your word for it. I'm going to be at Country Thunder. Point 3, we got a lot of hockey news today. And some a spillover from Wednesday. Chicago Blackhawks center Connor Bedard will miss the start of the season after he had surgery on his left shoulder Wednesday. Team physician Michael Terry said Bedard's expected to make a full recovery and return in approximately 4 months. It's a major blow for a Blackhawks team trying to emerge from a painful rebuilding process. He'll be back. Don't over-dramatize this. He's 21 years age. I will say Connor does got to stop getting hurt, but it's not the end of the world. So that's the one thing. Number 2, here's I'll just sprinkle in my own stories. As I think I stole that from TSN, maybe the Canadian Press, I can't remember, but it says the NHL has not announced its regular season schedule, but the Blackhawks played their first game last season on October 7th. I was there. It was at Sunrise. The Stanley Cup was there. It was big fun. My friends Mike and Joanne Lee came down and stayed with me, and they're friends of the Bedard family. The Blackhawks were shut out 3-0 that night, and I will not forget, 4 minutes into the game, Bedard came blazing down the right side, and with that shot, which is the second hardest in the NHL, they say, a snapshot to Austin Matthews of the league, ping, right over Bob's shoulder. Hit the crossbar. And we all think how the game might have changed had he scored that one, but it didn't. It hit the crossbar, and the Blackhawks went on to lose 3-0. But the point of the matter is the kid will be fine whether he's playing in Game 1 or not. The doctor said he's expected to make a full recovery, and I'm actually surprised he gave a timeline. I'm glad he did. For the love of Pete, I have not figured out this laptop of mine yet. I will, I hope, by the end of time. The Utah Mammoth matched New Jersey's offer sheet to Barrett Hayton on Wednesday, signing the 26-year-old center to a $4.775 million contract for next season. That's far less earth-shattering news than the breaking news that came down Thursday morning, and that is that, and this came down from a statement from the owners of the Anaheim Ducks, they have elected to match the offer sheet tendered to their young star, Leo Carlsson. He has signed a 5-year extension worth $90 million, and if you do the math, that works out to $18 million per season. There's a statement from the Ducks, and I give them and the owners full credit for the transparency. They came out today and said, we're matching, and here's why. Basically, they feel that he's worth it. And then they also said in there, we have high expectations of Leo Carlsson, as if the kid didn't already know, but they're just making the whole world know that we are making you the highest paid player in the NHL, so you better earn it. Which, incidentally, I don't have a problem with them saying that at all. I have this here in my script right now, so I'm just going to read it. The daily poll is for Country Thunder, the biggest party of the summer, starting today in Craven, Saskatchewan, featuring Lainey Wilson and Creed. You can still get your tickets at countrythunder.com/SK. I will say this. People are now realizing around here that I'm going to be out there this weekend. I don't know when. My phone's blowing. Where are you going to be? This is where we're going to be. This is the campsite we're in. This is why I quit with this stuff. It's exhausting. Just coordinating. Supposed to be just there for the music. We'll see how it goes. Follow my social media at Rod Pedersen Official to see how it goes. We're flying, aren't we? Ted in Red Deer, thank you, my brother. He writes and he says, what a great show today. Just sitting, drinking coffee, and enjoying the chat. Well done, everyone, as usual. Thank you, Ted. Thanks for participating and saying the kind words, because you know what? Most people don't say nice things. Everybody just wants to bitch, but not you, Ted, and I appreciate that, which I know that's not even your real name, and I don't care. Yes, it's 1:11 Eastern. For the live audience, thank you, Carlos in Indiana. You point it out every day, and I'm glad that you do. Just visualize a positive outcome to your current quagmire. My God, sometimes it takes long, but I'll tell you what, if you give up, I guarantee you will never hit it. Don't ever lose hope. And that includes you, Carlos, anybody watching, and I try to lead by example that way. I'm just checking the comments here. 902-518-3033. I mean, it's July, and you have to understand the show's originating from Canada in the summer, and all they talk about is hockey. God bless them. I love it. Like, for instance, was Steve Simmons, our good friend Steve Simmons, that pain in the ass from the Toronto Sun, tweeting this morning that the Toronto Maple Leafs have laid off 11 longtime employees under new general manager John Chayka. I'll say it again, and I'll probably say this every day. Last week I was having the lunch with the former pro football PR guy. He's not in that. He's still in PR, but not in football or sports at all. He said, do you miss working for a team or a network or a station? I miss the security of it. I know you've heard this. I'm just saying it for myself. Looked across the table, but are they secure? Those guys are looking over their shoulder every day. Thank you for the reminder. We're good. David, number 2 in Winnipeg, writes in, it was sad to see that Connor Bedard has sustained an injury. He is one of the bright lights in the NHL. I hope he returns in full health soon and continues to entertain us all. You're right, David. He is so much fun to watch. You know, they all are, but he's at another level. And I'm so grateful to be able to call him a friend and to have called his very first 2 goals in the Western Hockey League. They came in the same game in his debut game. That kid has just been special from the second he was special before he was born. again. 902-518-3033. Since we're on the hockey vein right now, and for the benefit of the Nevada audience, I mean, they're all watching the show because everybody else down there is talking about everything else. But this, Mike Commodore, former NHLer, has a hate on for Mike Babcock, the new head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, and he tweeted last night, Commodore did, that he received I should try harder to get it right, but I think he said a threatening email he received from the Edmonton Oilers because he's been going after Mike Babcock with, quite frankly, some very offside, inappropriate things. And it's just, for those that observe and celebrate this whole story, where are you on this? I've never met Mike Commodore, but I'll tell you a little story. I walked into a hall in Carlisle, Saskatchewan, 4, 5, 6 years ago. It was the fall of 2019. 27 years ago. I was with Matthew Barnaby. Barney. 18th all time. And 15 seconds? I'll have to finish this story later. It's a good one. And it has to do with Mike Commodore. Walk into a hall with Matthew Barnaby. We'll be right back. Hi. What are you going to tell me? What, we have another minute? So anyways, so we're back on. So we walk into the hall, and Barnaby says to the guy putting on the sports banquet, where the guest speakers there, Barney says, what can I get away with here in terms of language and stories and stuff? And the guy says, don't worry. We had Mike Commodore here last year. There's no way that you will be any more offensive than Mike Commodore was last year. People are still getting over it. They're in therapy. So Commodore has a history. And how that ended was us pulling Andre Waugh. He bulldogged him by the head, Barnaby, to get him out of there after midnight. Guys, we got to go. It was one of those nights. Those are fun. We'll be right back with Murph right after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner.
Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
It's time for the guest segment here on the RP Show on Silver State Sports Game Plus WQVZ. Brought to you by Prairie Panels. Are you building a shop, barn, rink, or commercial space? Prairie Panels provides high-quality insulated wall and roof panels designed for durability and energy efficiency. Visit prairiepanels.ca. They're also building hockey shooting lanes now. Check him out at prairiepanels.ca. John Murphy joins us from Houston, Texas, four-time Grey Cup champion. Murph, I feel like we should just dive right into the Canadian Football League news because there's not a lot of other leagues going on right now. Week 6 kicks off tonight with Ottawa at Edmonton. But before all of that, there's some news today with starting quarterbacks. How did you feel when you heard Drew Brown is the starting quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Friday against Chad Kelly and the Toronto Argonauts?
Well, I think you saw it immediately when you saw, when they came back and said Collaros is not returning to the game. I think you had to immediately kind of turn your, direction to that to say, hey, is this an opportunity for a couple of things? One, they came back and won that game, right? So now Winnipeg, all of a sudden, not in drastic, win or go home, this week, right? So all of a sudden, a little balance there. To things, if you give, Collaros, if it's anything to do with, what he's had in the past, and they've really not been all concussions, they haven't, the main one that he dealt with in Saskatchewan was not, just concussion, it's the stiffness, it's getting that whiplash hit, that you've seen on the ice and on the field that guys then are dealing with, the head, shoulder, neck, type repercussions of that normally take a couple of weeks to settle down. So I think in this scenario, you sort of get the best of both worlds for them. You're at home. You've seen Drew Brown at home with a good defense and a run game has been a winning product for the Bombers, when he was there the first time. So now you get to utilize that, no offense, but it is against a winless team, although they've played much better the last 2 weeks. You should be able to win this game with just an effective Drew Brown in terms of what we saw him do the last time he was in a Bombers uniform. You still have Perkins who can come in and do the third down stuff. And I think you were able to get Taylor, get his feet wet last week, right? That's film that's important to evaluate both for him and as a coaching staff. And now you got to really just look at winning these games because you can't manufacture winning CFL games the way that either of those two teams played in the second half of last week's game.
Forgive my ignorance, but if you're going to start Drew Brown this week, why would you not put him off the bench last week, or was he not on the roster?
I think the question with that would remain, when you make a trade, the rule is that the player has at least 72 hours grace period to get from point A to point B. So now you'd have to ask the question, Drew Brown, did he take everything with him? When he, to Ottawa, was he retaining any part of his life in Winnipeg, during that period of time? I've seen guys drive from Edmonton across all the way to the East Coast. We had a guy that, in Calgary that wanted to make his way from Toronto to Calgary and bring his car. And we had to convince him to fly and go back home and get his vehicle during the bye week. Sort of thing. So you never know what's going on independent of the football to be like, Brown actually get back there, right? And the other part is you made the investment, and if you convinced Taylor to leave the UFL leave any other NFL opportunities to come. You don't really want to shake the foundation of that relationship with the player or the agent to then say, okay, Drew Brown showed up. All right, you're heading to the bench. Thanks. I'll see you in a couple of years. You really don't want to do somebody. So if you're kind of done this for the reasons that they seemingly did it, and both teams then wanted to get a deal done when they wanted to, this was not, the trade deadline when he would have come in and played immediately if something like this happened. I think what the organization wanted to do is let's see what we have in Taylor, because once we go with Drew, if Collaros is healthy, it's probably going to be Collaros is the 1, Drew is the 2, and Bryce Perkins playing his role, doing the short yardage and goal line stuff, and Taylor may just be inactive. So I think last week you're never expecting what happened to occur, but I think it was kind of that perfect storm to say he had only been this week practicing. How many days did they practice last week? And then saying like, hey, you did give Taylor, whatever speech you gave him there.
Right. So enough on that situation. So the other one, Hamilton Tiger Cats going into Sask, and we all thought incorrectly, when I say we all, me and Matt DeBuck, thought Trey Ford would start for Hamilton in this game, and they come out and announce Jake Delegata going in there to start against his former team. Was that a surprise to you?
Yes and no. I think the surprise part is that you've had Trey sort of listed as the 2. Now, the thing offensively is, again, is this on a week where you're traveling and you have this injury occur? What Jake does and how he would operate is more on par with the offense that you've put together to run with Bo Levi. So can you run more plays, more of the whole system that you have in place with somebody like, and then is there expectation this week that you see a little bit more of Trey Ford in some sort of role? I think the awkwardness of it was, there's again last week that Trey Ford gets a opportunity, but one mistake, and I'm flipping, it's hard to keep that flip-flopping going back and forth at the quarterback position. But it could be something just as such as saying like, hey, at a certain point, do you have to commit to playing that style? Because you saw it a few years ago. Jarius Jackson got a hold, of Trey Ford and turned him into the best version that we've seen. And they had the run game going, and they were getting some big hits down the field. They stopped being worried about when he tried to do those and one football plays and ran around in circles and, threw it up for grabs, because they limited how often he was put in those situations. But you can't change your offense in the span of a couple of days and go on a road trip to Regina and play a really good football team and make all those changes offensively. I think the biggest thing after losing your main guy and your culture guy as your quarterback is the Ticats schedule. They don't have a bye week until after Labor Day. So anything you're doing now is on the fly, which is why I think, number one, it's Jake, and number two, why somebody like Jared Dagey, or if they get Harrison Frost back sooner or later, knowing the system and somebody that can come in quickly. I think the Trey Ford thing is more about the timing of what happened and that you have no weeks off.
Well, and as you know, you could boil it down to this. They're going to play the guy that they think gives them the best chance to win, period. And that's Jake Delegata. The viewers have questions. Kirk in Toronto writes in on the Western Dodge text line, 902-518-3033. He says, hey, Rod, could you please ask Mr. Murphy why the Argo defense is giving up a boatload of passing yards in all their games so far this season? Thanks. That's from Kirk.
Well, I think the couple of things that people have done is they're kind of on to what Greg, Quick is doing in the sense of these are teams, Montreal, he was right there coaching for them. So they know what his rhythm or how he gets into a rhythm of trying to play the game. You saw it against Saskatchewan. Again, they were able to manage that game and get the win, but they're managing to make plays that when they blitz, Toronto's not getting home. They're getting some good pressure at times out of their front four, but they're not landing and getting guys on the ground. And the difference between pressure and sacks is that you can still make a play. And you've seen that, I think, pretty much across the league. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is if they don't get home with their front four, they're having a problem with some of those plays. And when they add in the extra blitzer or they send the house, Davis Alexander knew it was coming. Trevor Harris knew it was coming, and they're hitting on those plays. And when that happens, it's a struggle to get off the field. You've seen it happen, in BC. You've seen it happen in Winnipeg. It happened in Ottawa, to them as well. And then you've seen even the good teams. When you don't get home, you allow teams to make plays. And the Riders had really good pressure on Chad Kelly, but they didn't get him on the ground on some of those plays. And once the ball was in the air, you have a really good amount of CFL receivers that are making big money, playing against a lot of younger or inexperienced DBs, or unfortunately a lot of savvy veteran DBs that athletically are just challenged against today's wide receivers.
Hang on, viewers. I'll get to your questions. But, Murph, the viewers voted Calgary at Montreal on Saturday as the game of the week. 2-2 Calgary Stampeders at the 3-1 Montreal Alouettes. Do you agree?
I can see why, because if you're looking just this week alone, that would be a matchup that you could say if these two teams continued to play the way they have recently, especially Calgary, right? Those two games, they could have been easily 4-0. In those games, they could have been at least 3-1. So if that matchup had been 3-1 Montreal and a 3-1 or 4-0 Calgary, it definitely would have been game of the week. And I think when you see Vernon playing this way, this is the expectation of when you have a franchise quarterback that one of these seasons, we mentioned it at the beginning, before week one of the season. If somebody like Bo, if somebody like Rourke, if somebody just takes control of their season and plays this style of football like Vernon has in the first, 4 games, you have a really good shot at getting pretty far in your season. So if you have that kind of performance, and then you see what, Davis Alexander has done pretty much for the entirety of his regular season career in the CFL, I mean, hey, that's the game that you would expect the over to hit. You might get 750 passing yards out of it. Or as we always get excited about games like this, we'll end up with an 18-15 game and we'll all be incorrect.
Chad in Red Deer says, hey, Murph, how important is a quarterback footwork when you scout them? It seems to be the first thing that coaches focus on. I'm curious as to what exactly footwork means.
Well, I think you could look at it in a number of ways. If your footwork is all over the place, it can do a couple of things. It can explain why you're inconsistent, with your passes. And in the CFL, if you're inconsistent with your accuracy, that can be a problem because when it's second and intermediate, you got to get those plays done and stay on the field. If you can't have, if your footwork is, all over the place, it can mean throwing to the far side of the field is not going to have the accuracy that you want. And when it doesn't, you've seen guys flutter balls out there and they get incomplete or worse, pick sixes. And I think the last part of it is for the CFL game, the escapability, right? The things you're seeing out of a Davis Alexander, the way that Trevor is moving in the pocket and kind of just finds his way, to keep the play alive. If you have that escapability where you have quick feet, but you're always set and balanced, you can do those kind of things and keep your head down the field and your eyes down the field to make plays. If you're kind of all over the place with it, they put their head down. You can see them putting their head down at times, when they're moving in the pocket. And then when you try to refocus, there's too much going on and that leads to incompletions. And the real thing is accuracy in the CFL might be equally or more important than any other league, because if you get a bunch of 2-and-outs, it kind of snowballs, with you, right? You have to cover extra punts, which can lead to time of possession and flipping the field. And also, if you just get off rhythm, most offensive coordinators just become pass happy, at that point, because when you get down 10, 12 points, everybody forgets that there's a lot of time left in the CFL, no matter what time's left on the clock, and they just become pass happy, and then those games get out of hand.
Wayne in BC writes in, he says, it surprised me somewhat that Hamilton is starting Jake Dolegala over Trey Ford. When Ford was in Edmonton, he had success against Saskatchewan. Well, again, they're starting the quarterback that they think gives them the best chance to win. And just to back up a little bit on that, so they signed Jared Daggy this week. You had put out a list, or you'd mentioned that, that there's options out there for Hamilton. Can you explain to the viewers, I've heard it called hot sheets or hot lists at all positions, that when guys go down early in the season, you got a list of guys. Can you explain to that? Obviously, Daggy was probably on everybody's hot list, I would think.
Right. So normally it would depend who and at what level at the position goes down. So if you have your franchise quarterback go down, the first thing you have to think of is, do we have somebody on that list with the most experience? Okay, Jared, would be probably the number one guy available that you would have wanted to bring in that scenario. It could have been McLeod, a week earlier, right? That might have been somebody that they would have looked at in that area. The next is, who's the best player on your neg list? Now that's going to be a younger player with no training camp, no off season. There's no way you're really going to onboard, that player quickly enough to make a difference before the summertime. And now in this scenario, is there somebody that knows your system, right? So with Scott having been there for a long period of time now, there's not somebody that was in Toronto or Montreal. That's why I said, hey, if you fast forward to the trade deadline, now an opportunity to get a veteran quarterback that might know his system. You have to leave that door open to say, is there a chance that would ever happen? Is that a possibility that somebody would open a door, to doing something like that? Because, where you're at in your season right now, it's almost like behind the scenes, nobody wants somebody to trade Hamilton a quarterback. Ottawa doesn't want Hamilton to get a quarterback, right? The team out west don't want him to get a quarterback. And if you're Toronto, in Montreal, you want to pile up some victories to kind of get yourself, ahead of the turn there. Because again, Toronto will play Hamilton 3 times before September 1st, and in that avenue, when you're playing without your starting quarterback, if the role reversal this year is that now Hamilton is in that same scenario, they're going to need somebody on that roster now, or somebody that they get in the next couple of weeks here to show up and play like Nick Arbuckle in order to balance out their season, to say, hey, we can't go all the way to September 8th before we have a bye week and have this be a question every week. If we're talking about Hamilton's quarterback play and we're talking about it like this every week, they're gonna be having that same roller coaster season that you saw happen recently in Edmonton and in Ottawa and in Toronto, the last couple of years when Chad was injured and out, because you just can't stabilize your team without consistent quarterback play.
We only got a couple minutes left. BC is the lone team off this week. They got the win in touchdown Kelowna too. Do you feel they've righted the ship?
I would say that what it did is, I think it gave them some balance to go into the bye, not have the factor that you were in Kelowna, lose 2 more, and have some of the injuries they have, a lot of which are not going to be healthy in a week. They have a number of guys, right? They're 10 plus deep on the 6-man, injured list already. You saw a couple of things happen in that game that might have affected them this week. Most notably could have been Dejon Allen, who left the game. If they had played this week, that would have been a problem. But I think the factor that it's a back-to-back does not play well for BC, because the odds of going now into Edmonton off the bye week and sweeping this series is normally not something that you see happen often in the CFL, right? That, the flip back the other way is at home off the bye, and with them being able to watch that film, Edmonton adjust, and you should see a bigger game out of Justin Rankin, because what you saw in that game is exactly what Coach Benavides was able to do. They control the clock with Butler. They're getting, timely passes from Rourke to, make first downs and move the football. And then you make them one-dimensional, because there's no way anybody thought, including Cody, that, he was going to go out there and throw 35, 40 passes, in a game, considering what Rankin had done to date. So I think there's some stuff to clean up for Edmonton. Good news for them. They get right back on the field this week at home. So I think that, yes, you saw some positive things out of BC, but the factor that in that game, there were multiple times that what the Elks did was shoot themselves in the foot, and they still had opportunities to come back in that game. I'm not sure I think they're over the hump yet. And then the worst thing for them was that on a week that they capture a victory, that Winnipeg's able to come back and get that W. So they're still in last, right? There's still at least a little room for these other teams. And if during the bye, everybody else gets a win, if Winnipeg were to win at home, and Calgary were to win on
Apologize, Murph. We're out of time, but we covered it all. Great job, Murph. 4-time Grey Cup champion. We'll be right back on the RP Show.
rock with the Gene Simmons Band.
You know your man is working hard. He's worth the team.
Saturday, December 5th, Temple Garden Center. The Gene Simmons Band performing your favorite classic hits. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca. Don't miss the Gene Simmons Band.
Get ready to make unforgettable memories with your little ones at Elmo's Got the Moves, the all-new Sesame Street live show coming to your neighborhood. Friday, December 4th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at SaskTix.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sorry we ran out of time with Murph, but that's as Chris Jones. I don't even know if Murph knew that. Chris Jones was our coach and general manager with the Rough Riders. Murph was the assistant GM. He called him press play. Where's press play? That was it's press play. That's Murph. So we covered it all, though. That's the thing. It wasn't wasted time. So wait till NFL season starts, which reminds me, by the way, Joe won't mind, right, Joe, when I say he was talking to Jim Barker the other day, and Barker, the CFL did not ban him from coming on this show. I think it was strongly encouraged that he stop coming on this show while he was working in the Toronto Argonauts front office. So Barker's like, maybe I can come on and talk college and NFL. And we're like, anytime you want. Barker's amazing. But it's been great getting on Murph and Mike Davis. And Moose is coming on tomorrow, by the way, in hour one. But JB's missing the chats. He's missing you people. By the way, breaking news out of the National Hockey League on this Thursday. The Anaheim Ducks have matched the 5-year, $90 million offer sheet that Leo Carlson signed with the Philadelphia Flyers last week, keeping the center on their roster with now the largest cap hit in the NHL. Anaheim announced the decision this morning, one day ahead of the deadline to do so. I'm not going to get in through all the financial machinations of this, but I did tell you earlier that the owners of the team came out and made a statement, and I love it because they very rarely make statements or hold news conferences. When they do, it's delicious, man. So here's the statement from Ducks owners Henry and Susan Samueli. Matching the offer sheet was an easy decision, as Pat has intelligently left enough cap space to give us the eligibility to retain Leo. We have extremely high expectations for Leo. We firmly believe he will continue his strong growth trajectory and become one of the truly elite centers in the league while continuing to make a strong impact in our community. Unquote. So there is more sports to get to, but you are seeing this, right? You understand it, what that is? It's, we're giving you the money, kid. Now you better frickin' lead us to the Stanley Cup, which is the expectation anyways, but in case the kid didn't know, we're making you the highest player in the NHL. It was an easy decision. Now, go earn it. I don't have any problem with that. And I'm sure Leo picked up on it too. Elsewhere in the sports world, Justin Verlander, aged 43, announced on Wednesday that he will retire at the end of the season, his 21st in the majors. The news came on the same day that the future Hall of Famer and Tigers pitcher was selected to his 10th All-Star game as a legend pick by Commissioner Rob Manfred. Mentioned this earlier, Blue Jays ace Dylan Cease was 3 outs away from his second career no-hitter when a single by Giants outfielder Helio Ramos ended his bid in the ninth. He still earned the win in a 10-0 victory with his third no-hit bid of 8+ innings, the most in MLB over the last 5 seasons. Upon closer inspection, Monday's USA-Belgium game in the World Cup was not, in fact, the most watched soccer telecast in American history. That honor now belongs to Sunday's Mexico-England game, which drew nearly 45 million viewers across Fox and Telemundo. That does not surprise me. Lionel Messi, 3 wins from leading Argentina to a second straight World Cup title. Headline MLS's 29-player All-Star roster revealed Wednesday. They'll face a team of Liga MX All-Stars on July 29th in Charlotte. You kind of wonder why Messi came to the MLS. It's just so easy for him. It's very clear. I think he gets $29 million a year. That's probably why. The sports update brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone. From Moose Jaw to your man cave, Ultimate Fan Zone has the merch to make you the ultimate fan. Shop local or shop online at ultimatefanzone.ca. One more segment today. You said, Ted and Red Deer, it's been an awesome show, and you're right, it has been. Let's hear more from you and everybody else via the YouTube stream, the chat, or the text line 902-518-3033. It's brought to you, as always, by our friends at Western Dodge, that text line. Proud partners of the RP Show, Western Dodge, big city selection with small town service. We'll be back in a moment. You're catching the RP Show on Silver State Sports Game Plus streaming podcast and, of course, WQVZ Radio, where we air 2 to 5 Central every afternoon, 1700 WQVZ across the U.S. South. We'll be right back.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody. It is overtime. For our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, there you go. You see them on the screen. And for the listeners, take my word for it. Again, now is a good time to tell you, book online. Book your lane online at overtimehl.ca. That's their official website. And receive free Calgary Stampeders tickets. They're trying to fill up that stadium in Calgary, McMahon Stadium, the home of the Stampeders. Get the kids out of the house. You're going to take them anyways. Just book it online, and then you can take them to a football game for free. See what Randy and Michelle are doing there, and while you're at it, give them a follow on their social media channels, Facebook and Overtime HL on Instagram. Proud partners of the RP Show. 28th Street, Northeast Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. The week's not even over yet, and it's been a fantastic week of shows here. I appreciate everybody's involvement. Vancouver Eric. RP, what day do you have your deep dive into CFL game stats? Well, depends on the day. Usually the day before the game, or in the case of today, the morning of the game, and I didn't really do a deep dive. And I just threw out a couple of the stats that popped up to me. Cody Fajardo, 10-1 versus Ottawa going into the game tonight. Brett Lawther, 13 of 13 on field goals. Two close friends of mine. You were watching Vancouver Eric earlier when I said we're both in the camp of former exiled Rough Riders. It's a fun camp where we roast hot dogs and marshmallows and sing songs and sleep under the stars. To be honest, the Canadian Football League, so they send out the game notes, and if I have time, I will sit down and read them all from cover to cover. But most weeks, last week they did not, but most weeks they do the work for you, the CFL does, and they send it out via email, which I've posted to rodpedersen.com. So to answer your question, I do it the day before or the morning of the first game. And I mean, but that's in my job now. At the start of the week when I was the voice of a team, I was doing it the second they like Monday. Analyzing last week's games, absorbing what happened, looking ahead to this. I always did it Monday, but now it's Thursday or Friday, depending when the week starts. Ted in Red Deer says, speaking of Chris Jones, does anyone know what he's up to these days? Defensive genius. He is the defensive backs coach at the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Rob in or from Las Vegas, writes in. He says, the Blue Bomber trade for Drew Brown now looks like a genius move. I do hope the U.S. Viewers are enjoying our Canadian Football League talk because, again, there ain't much going on. Certainly not NFL or college there. And we'll get enough of that near the end of summer, there's no doubt. Arlen Bruce writes in, NFL CFL alum. He's watching. He says, great day, RP and Mr. Murphy. I've heard so many great stories about Murphy from guys like Milt Stiegel and Bobby Gordon. He says, I'm looking forward to my 11-year-old son starting tackle football here in BC. You know, I felt like it was a way, not a God shot necessarily, but I said the only story in the NFL as of yesterday making the news was Marshawn Neeland, the D lineman that took his life last November for the Dallas Cowboys, was discovered to have CTE. And I was going to bring that up to Buck, but then I didn't. It's that thing in football and to a little degree hockey that it honestly is just not talked about. It's not talked about. I'm in those circles every day. And they just thought, if I'd brought that up to DeBuck in the interview yesterday, or even Murph now, would be the dry pitch on the ski hill. Like, thank you, Bill in Brantford, Ontario, writes in and says, another 2 hours of great entertainment listening on YouTube. Thank you, Bill. You the man. Ted in Red Deer. Cody Fajardo keeps getting buried, and he just keeps on going and winning. Great stuff. He's a chosen one. I'll say that right now. You know that, Ted. And one day, Cody will look back and thank the doubters and the haters and the critics. He's just got a ways to go. He's like 20 years younger than me, literally. The critics and the doubters and the haters are the ones that get me out of bed every day and have my whole entire life. If they actually knew that, if they actually just went away, maybe I would go away. But that's where Cody's at. What did he say recently? I guess got to keep winning. And that's what he's doing. I mean, we'll all be watching tonight the Nevada Wolfpack great Cody Fajardo with his Edmonton Elks, but this doesn't need to be a close game tonight. For me, the game of the week is Friday. And again, that's always, I just look at things differently than everybody else. It's the way I'm used to it. As my counselor Rand says, that's why you have a show. If you were like everybody else, it wouldn't be entertaining. Toronto-Winnipeg Friday is my game of the week because who doesn't love a grease fire? And I believe that is a grease fire. And actually, pardon me, I mean, grease fire is not an accurate term. Just some intrigue in that game because the starting quarterback for Winnipeg, Zach Collaros, isn't playing. So let's see how, at the time, we didn't know who was going to start for Winnipeg. Now we do. Drew Brown. We still don't know how that's going to go. That makes it must-see TV. This game tonight really isn't must-see TV compared to the others. There are those that are saying Saturday's game, Calgary and Montreal, is a Grey Cup preview. That's exciting. Wayne in BC, one last text for the day. He writes in and says, great analysis from Murph, as usual. I do love his analysis. He got going there on the one thing, and I had to cut him off. I'm like, he would have kept going forever if you noticed. We covered it all. World Cup. I mean, by the time this airs in Vegas, that World Cup quarterfinal today will be over. But we'll all know who won. We'll kick that around a little tomorrow. We covered a lot of the NHL stuff today. Leo Carlson's offer sheet being matched by the Ducks. Same thing in Utah with Barrett Hayton. These guys don't want to lose their stars. Talked a little Blue Jays. And the only NBA thing that I saw, well, two, and it's all bad news. Number one, Terry Rozier wants to come back playing. The former Heat, who got kicked out of the league briefly for gambling. And then Mark Cuban complaining of unfair business practices by the Dallas Mavericks ownership group. Who cares? Business people think we care. We don't care. Figure it out amongst yourselves. Anyways, I believe Mike Davis will be with us tomorrow. We'll let you know. Moose for sure. Big thanks to Kevin the Medium today and Murph, and we'll see you all tomorrow here on the RP Show.
That